How reliable are the South African Police Service's crime statistics? Could auditing crime statistics independently make them more credible? And how does alcohol and substance abuse impact levels of crime? How can ordinary citizens contribute towards building safe and secure communities? What time is it? It is question time. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Minister of Police Nathi Nhleko has released crime statistics for 2014 and 15 in Parliament today. He pointed out that the number of contact-related crimes had decreased by 15.6% over 10 years. Minister Nhleko also said alcohol and drug abuse continue to drive crime levels up. This is despite the success achieved in clamping down on illegal shebeens. A reminder that this is a live program, and therefore you can call us and air your views on the numbers 089-1104210. Our Twitter handle remains @QuestionTime24. My guest today, Cohen Lebone, is a researcher at the South African Institute of Race Relations. And in our Pretoria studios, we have Kifile Masiteng, who's the Deputy Director General, Population and Social Statistics at the department there of, or rather, the Stats SA. But before we go into today's discussion, let's have a look at what Minister of Police had to say about the crime stats.
In the category of other serious crime, has experienced a decrease of about 2.2%. And the overall figure stands at 27.8%. Now, on the question of police-detected serious crimes, which in essence looks at the question of unlawful possession of firearms, ammunition, driving under the influence, drugs and alcohol, unlawful possession of and dealing in drugs, and so on. We have had an increase in the work of the police, in other words, in the performance of the police of about 16.6% in dealing with this particular category.
That's the Minister of Police at Parliament today, as he was releasing today's statistics, that is. However, let me rather start in Pretoria. Kifile, perhaps let's get an idea from yourselves as Stats SA as to the gathering of this type of information. What goes on there, and how do you go about it?
The data that the Minister of Police has released today is based on the records that are from the police stations. And those are the records that then would be what we call administrative sources based on the recorded crimes by individuals in communities. And those are then taken and converted into statistics in a manner that then would allow SAPS to look at as to whether the crime is increasing, the changes in the types of crimes, and the understanding of the performance of SAPS as a department in terms of combating crime.
Now, how reliable are they?
In terms of the reliability, one should say the work that has been done between Statistics South Africa and SAPS over the past 7 years, when the Commissioner of SAPS and the Statistician General have signed a memorandum of understanding in terms of making sure that we would subject the data from SAPS to what we call the South African Framework for Quality. And that work has been done together with the work that has been done to have a task team for crime statistics. And in that way, one would then attest to the quality of the statistics because it does give the same picture or a reliable picture that is close to the picture that we get based on the survey. So what one would say is when you look at the data from SAPS and the data from the surveys we conduct, which we call the victims of crime, we realize that these two become two complementary sources of data that can provide the understanding and better picture and profile of crime in the country.
And who is involved in collecting the information?
The information that the SAPS has released today is based on the records in the police stations. So that is the administrative record that is being collected in the police stations. When everybody goes and report their crime, they get collated from the police stations to the regions and to the province and ultimately nationally into their statistical unit to ensure that then there is a final picture of what has been the crime in different provinces and what types of crime have increased and those that have decreased.
Okay. Kaun Libone, thank you very much for joining us as well. From the Institute there, you're looking at 49 murders, 48 attempted murders, 354 aggravated robberies, 56 home robberies, and 35 vehicle hijackings per day.
It's not a good picture at all. But if you look at the Institute, what we do, we released a report last week. If you look at long-term trends, even in the statistics 10-year trends that they released today, you can see that the longer-term trends look much better than if you look at year-on-year changes.
Yes.
20 years, crime has come down. The overall rate of serious crime has come down by over 20%. The rate of murder alone has come down by over 50%. So that's a very, very good picture if you look at the long term. And even the problem is that for the past 3 years, and if you take into consideration that the SAPS has worked very well in bringing down levels of crime because all the crime categories peaked in the 2002-2003 financial year. Ever since then, there's been a steady decline of all crimes across the board. Okay. It's only in the past 3 financial years that those gains have been reversing at a gradual rate. So that's the worry that what has looked like a working formula is now no longer able to stem the tide of especially aggravated robberies.
Yeah, you've got, murders, 17,805, which is up by 4.6%. Sexual offenses, they declined. Attempted murder, up by 3.2%. Assault, GBH, 182,556, up by 0.1%. So there's some consistency there. Common assault down by 2.8%, whereas robbery, under aggravating circumstances, you have 129,044, up by 8.5%.
That's a very worrying statistics. If you look at the raw numbers as well, it's over 10,000 robberies, that extra 10,000 robberies that occurred between the last financial year and this one. So it is a very worrying statistics, and that is the only crime category that has never gone down. Even if we looked at the broader picture and said crime has been coming down. That's the only worrying thing. There was a time during the tenure of 2 years ago of General Bekitele that the aggravated robbery, it was the first time that it has come down so drastically. And we can explain it not by him only. We acknowledge that his leadership was exemplary to ordinary SAPS staff members.
Yes.
But he also worked in a time when there was support from various departments during the World Cup. Different departments pulled their resources and put them behind the criminal justice clusters. So those factors work together that we think that they can be replicated if you firstly find someone of the caliber of the general, and also put in place back those resources that were used during the World Cup to ensure the safety of our visitors, to use those resources to help people locally.
Okay. Mema Sting, perhaps let me just check with you. Is there a way in which the public is involved without, looking at the cases that they would have opened or the walk-in reports that may be recorded at various police stations?
The case of involvement of the public that we know of is the survey that we conduct. It is called the Victims of Crime, and it is based on that survey that we get to understand the perceptions and how the communities and society at large feels about the performance of the JCPS, which is the Justice and Criminal Justice System. That is able to tell us how people feel. Remember, in the NDP, it is said that the country prioritizes that everybody in the country should feel safe.
Yes.
And the perceptions in that have indicated that about 65% of the households would say they feel safe, and about 56% of the population is saying they are comfortable, and they do appreciate the work that is being done by the police within their communities. They also show their appreciation for the visibility of police amongst their communities. And that has also shown some level of increased confidence of the population on the work that is done not only by SAPS, but also the work that is done by correctional services, and maybe one would say the work that is done by the broader crime system around the statistics and the understanding of how the crime gets perpetuated. And they also indicated what they feel are the most feared types of crime.
Yes.
If we look at what has been presented today by the Commissioner, she has also referred complementarily to the work that they have to some of the indicators that the victims of crime has indicated, and that information has shown the levels of confidence, but also some elements where the people would have indicated that they have some reservations in terms of how they feel the police and the correctional services are working with them. Therefore, based on the information from the victims of crime and the information from the SAPS administrative sources, we get a better understanding of the crime statistics system and getting a better profile. And another interesting part that one has seen in today's release is their ability to have understood the issues of the crimes that are being committed by the people that are referred to as not South African or the foreign nationals.
Okay, hold the thought there. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking your calls as well. What do you think? What did you make of today's announcement by the Minister and the National Commissioner thereof? Are you feeling safe right here in South Africa? The numbers to dial 0891104210. This is Question Time.
My people, we are getting there, and thanks to you, Pati is set to become our country's 12th official language. Here's today's word. Substitute. Replacing a drinking buddy with somebody more fun. That's more like it.
Help make Pati South Africa's 12th official language. Sign the petition today.
I've got a credit card.
SABC News brings you an exclusive interview with the French economist everyone's talking about, Professor Thomas Piketty, Wednesday 30th September on Business Review DSTV 404 at 6 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Before we continue, let's have a look at what General Ria Pierre had to say.
Crimes that are most feared by society, followed by home robbery, street robbery, pickpocketing or bag snatching, assault, sexual assault, murder, and business robbery. And if you look at those, Chairperson, most of them, if we were to count them, are sitting more in the 17 crimes that we've indicated, and there's quite a significant show of the contact crimes there.
General Ria Pierre. My guest today, Cowan Limoni, is a researcher at the South African Institute of Race Relations. And in our Pretoria studios, Mekifilo Masiteng is the Deputy Director General at Stats SA. However, Emmanuel, you're calling us from Mpumalanga.
Yes, is Emmanuel on the line?
Yes, go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yes, I've got a question that if you are a man and if there is someone who has abused you, if you go to the police, they don't serve you as the way as they have served a person who is a woman. So if I am a man and I take a law into my own hands because I go to the police, they don't serve me as if a woman is being served.
That's correct. I guess what you're saying is really
yes,
true.
If there is someone who has abused me, they don't serve me as if in a woman.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the police. I'm talking about the police.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, Emmanuel. Well, what Emmanuel is saying, it's not necessarily a perception. It's an unfortunate reality that men often get treated as though, you know, they are coming with foreign tendencies if they are to report this type of crimes.
Yes, but we have the IPID, which is tasked with charging police if they contravene domestic violence, the Domestic Violence Act.
Yes.
So if you, for instance, a man reports that he's being abused at home and you don't take away weapons, that kind of thing. So unfortunately, these experiences, when people share them, they feed, as the Director General said, they feed into a broader perception of police negligence or neglect by the police in trying to follow up and helping people, which is very unfortunate because then it leads to issues such as vigilantism, where there is a general loss of confidence in the abilities of what the SAPS can do to help communities.
Yes. I think that's one thing. Perhaps let me just check with our guest in Tshwane there, make you feel. The perception that police take time to act, is there something that you have looked at?
Yes. In the victims of crime,
yes,
we also ask the perceptions of the households in terms of how they see the service of the police. And they do indicate a few issues that they sometimes feel that the police would take their time to come to the crime scene. They sometimes feel they would not come and deal with the issues that they report. But the number of households that are starting to report that they do not have a lot of trust in police has declined over the years 2013, 14, and 2011 and 12. And there has also been that increase in the number of people that are saying they would be able now to go to the police stations and report. And sometimes one would like to raise the issue around the administrative records. In many cases, when the confidence of the population increases in a particular system, sometimes we see an increase in the number of recorded cases. And in some of these cases, I think we are seeing a maturing system over 10 years that is starting to capture more cases, and more people are being able to report the cases. And that would also indicate the level of confidence that the people are starting to have, and making sure that we are seeing more and more cases being reported at the police station.
Okay, Tinyeko, you are also in Mpumalanga. Welcome.
Hello, how are you?
We're well.
I'm good. I'm happy about the statistics that have been reflected by our minister. But however, that only makes us to be look good on the paper. But if you go down on the reality of things, it's not what is happening on the ground. It's not true reflecting of what is happening in South Africa.
But they're saying that the stats are based on the records.
But if you go down and then you get out of where the office where was presenting it and then you go on the street, it's a different story.
What do you know which is different from what the stats are saying?
I mean, the crime is more, it has been, like me, I will say now the crime is more than what is appearing on the statistics. Okay. The only problem is that people can get arrested, but what happened after that?
Okay.
The recording is okay, but what happened? The input is okay, what about the output?
Okay. Thank you very much, Tinyeko. I guess, Mama Singh, the other thing here, you're also looking at crimes that are committed and crimes that are reported. What's the disparity there?
The disparity is that the crimes that are committed can only translate into statistics if they are reported.
Yes.
Therefore, what has just been raised now is that it is the responsibility of us as the communities and people to ensure that if the correct picture of the crime in the country is to be understood, each and every one of us should be able to build some level of confidence in ourselves and the police and make sure that we go and report the crimes. And as I said, we have seen that there are more and more crimes that are starting to be reported. And if there is still a perception that the numbers that we see are not a total picture, that still needs to encourage that we start to have the confidence and make sure that if a crime is committed, it should be translating into statistics by its ability to be reported and be part of the administrative records.
That you have a situation here where the minister says 600 police officers were arrested.
Yes, it's less than the figure of over 1,000 that were charged and convicted according to the annual report of the IPID last year. Still, we also, as the Institute, we released a report showing the extent of criminality of some SAPS members. It's a few rotten apples who are tarnishing the image of the entire organization. Yes, one police in crime is too much because the people have confidence in these people. So it's better, to be deceived or by a criminal rather than a person who should have the confidence of communities in them. So the thing that we commend the National Police Commissioner for is that these types of things are being brought out into the open. They are not being hidden. There's an acceptance and an admission that we do have rotten apples in the organization that we are trying to root out. And I think for me that's a step forward.
Okay. But the calls for the statistics to be released quarterly, what difference will it make?
The argument is that if you release them on a regular basis quarterly, that then you can, if you have a specialized unit in some instances, then they can respond speedily to whatever trends are showing themselves.
But it doesn't mean that they are not exposed to that data?
The data, of course, is available. It's, like I said, there are people who think that they might help. For instance, there's an argument that the police on their own, and I agree with this, on some crime categories that are termed social fabric crimes, crimes such as murder and rape, that should not be the duty of police officers to police a population that should know how to act better in terms of social fabric of society, teenage pregnancies and all those kind of things, and rapes of, if you look at the statistics, perpetrators are beginning to get younger and younger. So you get 8-year-olds being involved in acts of rape, which is a shock. So the problem is with society, it's with parenting, it's with teaching. But for aggravated robbery, that's really a crime. That's the duty of crime intelligence. We've seen it done in the past. The SAP has done it successfully by having successful interventions to stop armed robbers before they could commit their crimes. Okay. So if the leadership, if there's instability in the leadership and chopping and changing every year, we are arguing at the Institute that might have an effect on the morale of the police. Okay. You should have stability at leadership level. They must know who to report to leadership. But that's the thing. South Africans should all lend a hand to the police to help, especially with many of the contact crimes, except aggravated robbery.
So do you think this were the last statistics General Pierre was releasing?
Well, I'm not sure, and I'm not against. I'm all for women empowerment, but I think General Pierre has got other issues. She has to answer to the president about other issues rather than crime fighting. I wish, like any other ordinary South African there, I wish for a leadership of the police that will ensure that we walk proudly and safely and contribute to the economy without worrying about the effects of crime in our daily lives.
Let me thank you both, my guests. Thank you very much for your time. That was Question Time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the entire crew, have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.